This is a third career for me. I spent my first two in research biology and the corporate world, and knew that it wasn't quite where I needed to be. I went to Louisville Presbyterian Seminary, and when I graduated, just knew that PCS was where I needed to be. I work with a resource-challenged population, and so take, for instance, a 7-year-old who is being defiant at school and has begun to have night terrors and say that she hears things scary following her around the house, so audible hallucinations. That's pretty scary to a caregiver. So they'll bring them in, and we'll start with assessment for trauma and family history, and do some other assessment for things like pediatric bipolar and schizoaffective issues, just to rule those out. And then with the family history, I often find that there has been some systemic issue, often drug abuse in the family, sometimes physical abuse or emotional abuse. Often we will find that parents just didn't have good models for how to be parents, and that trickles down to affect their children now and their grandchildren. And so I work with the kids and the caregivers to find ways to communicate and to attach to each other. I find ways to process through trauma with the child. Often we'll have parents who are out of the house due to rehab or death or incarceration, and I work with the grandparents to find common ground with their grandbaby.
Started here at Personal Counseling Service in 2014. I graduated from the University of Louisville with my bachelor's degree in music therapy. And did an internship at Norton Audubon Hospital through Norton Healthcare in medical music therapy. That was kind of my passion, working with vent support patients, end-of-life care. When I started here at Personal Counseling Service, it was all from just a generous donor in the community that had the passion for music therapy and just wanted to provide that to our community here in Southern Indiana. And it's just kind of taken off. I've been with Personal Counseling Service for almost 2 years, and in that time we have educated 4 interns from the University of Louisville, provided a practicum site for those students as well. We are up to 3 board-certified music therapists on staff here, and it's just been a wild ride. So when I started, I had no clients. It took me 4 months to get my first client, and we're getting ready to reach 85 clients between the 4 of us. So it's very exciting. We see clients on the Indiana Home and Community-Based Services waiver. So all of our clients have some kind of intellectual disability. For me, I spend some time on the road getting to see clients in their homes, which is actually a unique experience. I get to see them in their natural environment, especially working with clients with developmental disabilities. I kind of get to see them at their best in their home, because bringing them out into the community can be anxiety-inducing or just not a comfortable experience for them. A particular client that I've seen for 3 years since I've actually became board certified, that's actually followed me through my work. When I first started seeing him, he was pretty reclused in his room, and it would take about 45 minutes to even get him to a music therapy session in his living room. The more work we've done over time, worked on speech, just the simple things of saying hello and goodbye, and just shaking hands and looking someone in the eye. And I just recently saw him, and he surprised me by opening the door and telling me hello and asking me how I was doing. And at the end of the session, he walked me to my car and actually did all this without any prompting. So I'm very proud of him, and it's been very cool to kind of get to see him over the years, and we're getting away from the social work with him and getting to do more academic work, which is really where he wants to be, learning to read and kind of getting a job now. So.
I was asked to come to PCS by a former employee. They had been experiencing a loss in staff. This was several years ago. Doug was brand new, and he needed a licensed clinician. I was already working elsewhere and began originally just as part-time because they were in such desperate need of a licensed clinician, and then ended up enjoying the ministry here and moved from that part-time clinician to the clinical director, which is the position I have now. I have both of my divinity degrees from Louisville Presbyterian Theological Seminary. I'm originally from the St. Louis area. but have a master's degree, moved here after college and have a master's degree from the University of Louisville in a teaching degree, an English degree, and then a postmaster's in marriage and family therapy at Louisville, and then the Master of Divinity and the Doctor of Ministry at Louisville Seminary. I generally see adults. I see some children, some teens, but more adults. I describe my clients as people, they're two kinds really. If they're individuals, it's because they're stuck. They're stuck in something. They're stuck in a depression. They're stuck in difficulty making a decision. They're stuck with dealing with anxiety. And then I do a lot of couples work. People are stuck in a relationship. They're going through difficulty. They may or may not divorce. They may or may not separate. Sometimes they come and they just need a tune-up because they're stuck and they're in destructive patterns that aren't going anywhere, and they need a little help getting unstuck. One woman I began seeing many years ago. I saw her when she was a teenager. Then about 6 years later, she tracks me down. She was living in Louisville. She had attended college, graduated college, and she had called and said, "Do you remember me? I am so-and-so." And I thought for a minute, and I remembered her. And she said, "Well, you've kind of been hard to track down because you moved." I go, "Yes." But she tracked me down and came back. She reached a place in her life where she was kind of stuck. She had done extremely well. She had graduated high school, had graduated college, was beginning a career, and needed to deal with some issues concerning her career, concerning a possible relationship, and sort of in that what we call the launching phase in her life, going from living at home to single adulthood and being on her own. And she needed some help with that, and that's why she looked me up and came.